Call to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates on this June 18th, 2018. May we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Looking for approval of the minutes of May 7th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that need to be made in those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Second is May 14th, 2018.
So
Approval of the
moved.
minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions on those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And they are approved. New business, number 1, discussion regarding amendments to Municipal Code, Chapter 7, Offenses and Punishment, regarding nuisance trees and weeds, and Chapter 11, Building Requirements, regarding maximum grass, weed height, and outdoor storage.
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
It
discussion,
is
sorry.
Discussion. So Peter, why don't you lead us in the discussion?
Sure. Last year, when we updated the overall set of building codes that we adopt every 6 years, there was some discussion about the maximum grass height that we allow. There was also discussion about regulating weeds, items like dandelions and things like that, that technically are may or may not be weeds, depending on how you define them. After reviewing the minutes from that meeting and going back, looking at the code, we realized we're supposed to come back with a survey, which we've done. We monitor this regularly, and we're able to come back and kind of show how our community fits in with the surrounding area as far as maximum grass height. Obviously, at 10 inches, Hoffman Estates is slightly higher than many of the surrounding communities who are typically at 8 inches. Most codes are written pretty much the same. They adopt the International Property Maintenance Code, which allows for a fill-in-the-blank type option for the grass height limit. So we're bringing that back for the board's consideration to see if you were interested in moving our code to the 8-inch, which would be consistent with just about every community that borders our town around our entire perimeter, with the exception of Streamwood, who's at 6 inches, which is somewhat of an anomaly in the area. That was one item, and while we were reviewing that and just looking through some of the sections we deal with regularly, there were a couple other quick items that came up. One had to do with the way we address language in the code regarding outdoor storage, which is often a property maintenance violation. It's a common complaint we get on residential lots. Our code is pretty good and clear on front and side yard storage issues, but there's not something specific about rear yards, and we do get a number of complaints every year that we need to address, and often we have to kind of look at other code sections that are not labeled storage and see if there's some other way we can address areas that are noticeably problems. So that's another area we'd like to take an opportunity at maybe drafting some language that would be a little more direct and clear. Obviously, we have to distinguish it from someone who has a stack of 4 lawn chairs on their patio or has a couple kids' toys in the backyard. That's not what this is about. This is really about miscellaneous debris, washing machines, lumber left over from projects, things that really are no longer actively being used in the yard. They're simply being discarded out in the back of the property. So that is a second area we'd like to adjust some language with your blessing. And the third one I think is relatively simple, which is why I included pictures. Our code is very black and white as far as being able to require removal of trees on private property. They basically have to be diseased, which is something that an arborist can determine clearly, or dead. There's nothing in our code that gives us any latitude on something that is deformed, or if a tree has been topped and is no longer ever going to return to its normal form. And I found a couple pictures on the internet just to help kind of show what I'm talking about. So you can significantly damage a living plant and still have it technically be alive. So I'd like to address that in the code also. And I think we've found some other communities in the area that have some language that helps address that I think we can pull together and work with legal on. So we're just looking for discussion and guidance on those 3 items, and with your consent, we would be able to come back at possibly the next meeting or the one thereafter with some actual language and a draft ordinance for these.
Any discussion up here? Gary?
So I'm excited whenever we tighten our codes. It's one of my favorite parts about this job. So going from 10 inches to 8 inches, I think is a great thing. The prohibition for outdoor storage in rear yards. At my previous house, I used to have Betty come over every spring, take a picture, and then go over and, do a cleanup. So it's real. People just throw whatever out there and, you're stuck looking at it. And then I think the damaged tree is a good one, too. I had one struck by lightning, but it happened to be in the parkway, and it was an ash tree. So, Joe removed it for me. But nevertheless, anything can happen to some of those things, and it just wipes it out. It didn't kill the ash borer, by the way. They survived lightning, apparently. But nevertheless, I think all the codes are good. And I just thank you for, doing the due diligence to bring it forward.
Sure.
Anyone else? Karen?
Do we want to make any kind of a motion tonight to send these for?
Yeah, I can make a motion to change the code minimum that aligns to staff's recommendation from the height of 10 inches to 8 inches, adding a prohibition in the code.
Well, are they ready to go? Are you ready at that point, or you need to still do the actual changes?
Actually, your motion would basically be directing staff to prepare the actual language. We did not have an opportunity to do that, and we wanted to make sure we had your blessing before we drafted the language.
And to direct staff to write the language.
Yeah,
Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on the motion and second?
And the reason we don't want to move all the way, we're ready to go yesterday on the 8-inch height one. The one that's really more difficult is the outdoor storage one. For example, if someone has a fireplace and they have a stack of firewood, when does it go from being a stack of firewood to being a nuisance? Have they quit using the fireplace? Is the wood rotted? I mean, so we're looking for code provisions from other communities that have stood the test of time, and we'll come back with that. So we have to do a little bit more research. If the board said, nah, we don't hear that much about that being a problem, we don't want to deal with it, then we would have ruled it out. So the direction to proceed on these 3 is really what we need.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That concludes new business. Now we have reports, which are for information only. Number 1 is Planning Division Monthly Report. Any discussion on that report? Peter, do you have anything to add on the report?
Nothing to add.
Okay, I would ask that that report would then be received and filed. Moving to number 2, Code Enforcement Division Monthly Report. Any discussion or questions on that? All right, hearing none, I'd ask that also be received and filed. Number 3, Economic Development and Tourism Monthly Report. Any questions for Kevin? Kevin, you want to answer any questions? I'll answer if you have. You want to give us anything that you, with no questions? Okay. And then I'd ask that that report also be received and filed. President's report.
I'll wait for the board meeting, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have nothing in other items in review. That's not up to date either at this point, is it?
No,
Mr.
it is
Norris?
not. I'm
Okay,
still
Peter.
working on that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then we go to adjournment. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion and the second, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
I'd like to go ahead and call the General Administration and Personnel Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates, June 18th, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Vice Chairman Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Request approval for the minutes, approval of minutes for May 14th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Request approval of minutes for June 4th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 2 items under new business. Number 1 is discussion regarding legislative update. Does staff have anything to add?
I think the biggest thing, obviously, is the state did approve a budget on time. It is not what they said they would do a year ago when they reduced LGDF and put on an administrative fee for collection of sales taxes on behalf of municipalities that they said were one-time things, or one-year things, but they reduced both of those in half. So the impact on our fiscal year 19 budget will be half as negative as it was for 2018, which I guess it makes it a good thing. I think we're going to have to continue to be diligent because it's very easy for state legislative bodies to look at our revenue as a means of balancing their budget. We're also following the legislation that was passed on professional services, the qualifications-based selection processes. Hopeful that the governor will sign that one into law. And then the third item we reported on is the South Dakota versus Wayfair litigation that is going to the United States Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court rules on that in a fashion that upholds the state of South Dakota's law, then that means internet sales taxes would be collected on transactions, and that all municipalities would benefit. Since Illinois has a similar law, that municipalities, we would benefit. Internet sales transactions would go to the state, and they'd be just
Knew that was going to happen.
distributed back to us on a per capita basis.
So how do we turn that
All
off?
right, what is it?
Mark
It's
is
just-
out there.
The building alarm.
Okay, all of you.
I've set it off before. I know what it sounds like.
There we go.
Thank you.
Just checking.
No, I think.
And that's all I had.
Check.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have one question. Jim, do you have any idea as to how much that sales tax revenue would be?
You're talking about the internet sales tax?
Yeah.
I really don't. There's been estimates, and they are huge, very wide gap. I don't think it'd be responsible to guess at this time, to be honest. If it is approved and if we start collecting it, then we'll obviously be able to
Sure.
give you something. Rachel, have you read anything? No, you're right. I saw something that was anywhere, it was like $2 to $3 million range in terms of sales tax that could be collected. And that's not for us, but statewide.
Okay.
It was huge.
Maybe we have some money to buy batteries.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, move on to item number 2, request approval of a resolution to include certain taxable payments as Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, or IMRF, earnings.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor McLeod?
Does doing this increase our pension liability?
In 2004, IMRF ruled that making a payment to an employee in lieu of health insurance was pinchable. It was considered compensation for that. They've reversed themselves. We have about 20 employees that have been on this for some time. They get a payment that is dramatically less than what it costs for the village to pay them health insurance. So we already have that pension liability for those years. We are recommending that from this point forward, for anyone new, either a new employee period or any employee that's existing that wants to all of a sudden switch, that it not be a pensionable calculation, but that for anybody that's always been in it, it will continue to be one, so that we're not taking away a benefit that employees have had, but we're also not extending it to anybody else in the future.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. We do have one opposed. Okay. Okay, now we are going on to the reports, which is also information only. Item number 1 is Cable TV Monthly Report. Does anybody have any corrections or any comments? No? Okay, I would request that this be received and filed. Okay, number 2 would be Human Resources Management Monthly Report. Is nothing? Okay. Okay, also request that this one be received and filed. Number 3, Legislative Operations and Outreach Monthly Report. Questions? Okay, we received and filed. Anything in President's report?
No, I'll wait for the board meeting.
Okay,
Madam
there's
Chair.
nothing in other, no items in review. I ask for motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Could be just a low battery. Alarm.
Ready to go forward? I'd like to call to order the June 18th, 2018 Transportation and Road Improvement Committee. Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Mills.
Present.
Vice Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Noel.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2018.
So moved.
Is
Second.
there any questions, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Under new business this evening, first item is request approval of a resolution for a recreational lease with Commonwealth Edison for a path connection to Pembroke Avenue as part of the Barrington Road Interchange Project.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, did you wish to comment on this, explain it?
Yes, the path itself was a component of the interchange project, which provided connectivity from new paths and sidewalks along Barrington Road to the existing village network. One of the parts of that intergovernmental agreement for the interchange was that the village would pursue any necessary leases or property rights for these facilities. And there's also an obligation, just like on other state or county projects, that the local municipality has the responsibility for maintenance of those facilities. So we've discussed with ComEd the lease that's attached. The path crosses about 100 feet of the ComEd property in between Pembroke Avenue and the tollway property, and went back and forth with them a bit, had the input from Village Legal Counsel, and had the agreement, lease agreement presented. There was one additional thing I just wanted to note. Well, two things, actually. One is that they require a resolution of approval for this. And second is Corporation Counsel has included a property tax exemption form that we would file so that we would not be liable for the proportional share of taxes that this area represents of the total ComEd property.
Now, is this one of the areas that's, we need to get done in order to open that Kiss and Ride area too?
Yeah, there are actually two areas. The one presented for us tonight for consideration is the crossing of the ComEd property for the path. Adjacent to that is a similar crossing for the driveway that PACE is pursuing independently with ComEd to provide that connection to the Kiss and Ride area.
Okay. Questions? All right, seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Number 2, request approval to submit an application for the RTA Access to Transit Grant Program for the Central Road Path.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Staff, you want to talk about this one?
Sure. This is the implementation phase, or the opportunity for implementation that was associated with the community planning grant program that is operated or facilitated by the Regional Transportation Authority. We did that study in 2000, completed in 2013, that identified a number of short-term to long-term goals for different transit improvements throughout the village. One of the key features of that study was a focus on the Barrington Road interchange area as the interchange design and the pace concepts for the transit connection there were evolving. The Access to Transit program then is administered by the RTA. It's intended to be an implementation phase for previously studied or funded projects that they have sponsored. It essentially feeds into the congestion mitigation air quality program. The difference is that the local match is shared equally between RTA and the community. So rather than paying a 20% match to the federal money, in this case, we'd be looking at a 10% match. The funds would not be available until 2020, just given the cycle of this call for projects. RTA collects all the requests for access to transit that are due this fall, and then bundles them, the most successful or promising ones, and submits those as a group to CMAP, who then considers them for selection and programming for the federal CMAC funds. So we would be looking at funding Phase 2, the engineering, on our own. Phase 1, as a reminder, we're doing cooperatively with Cook County. They agreed to include that with a engineering design study they had for reconstruction of Central Road. So that the outline is that we would be looking for direction from the committee this evening to proceed with submitting that application. The funding side of it would all be incorporated as a part of the budget request and development process for the next several years.
Okay, any questions up here? Seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. You've got your direction.
Thank you.
Next item is a review of request for handicap parking spaces on Sutherland Place. Staff, you want to talk about that one?
Yes, good evening. Over the last 2 months, we had received 3 requests for handicapped parking space designation on Sutherland Place in Barrington Square. As a general practice, we will sign on-street parking spaces upon request. And so far, we have signed a total of 8 of them throughout the village. There had been one previously on Sutherland Place. The resident that had requested that had moved, so that we would be considering that one as one of the 3. And we're requesting approval of 2 additional parking spaces on Sutherland to be assigned as handicapped-only parking spaces.
And the individuals involved, first of all, you have certified that they have the handicap.
They do. We
Parking
have
placards.
checked with the police department and
Okay.
verified all of the
And
checks.
they understand that they don't have exclusive right to each spot, that it's
Yes.
anyone with a handicap placard.
That is
Or
correct.
plates, and that they still have to abide by the parking placards that are involved in Barrington Square.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions up here? Yes, Mike?
Let me ask you this, why are we even considering by putting a handicap street sign on the street?
They don't have garages.
Oh, they don't have
This is
garages?
on-street parking.
Street parking.
Enough said, thank you.
Any other questions? We do not have any motions on the floor.
I'll make a motion to designate an additional 9-foot wide handicap parking space on street at 2066 Sutherland Place, and a 9-foot wide handicap parking space on street at 2065 Sutherland Place.
Just so it's understood, there's no direct parking in front of those units. That building was not built with designated parking in front of the units.
Okay.
So it's just on the street of Sutherland.
I'll second it.
Trustee Palafis, did you have something?
No, I was going to make the motion, but he started. So,
Any comments from the audience?
There is one,
Do you
I
wish to
think.
come forward? You don't have to, Mr. Hudson, but if you wish to. It's up to you. We just need you to identify yourself with your name and address for the record. No, to the microphone, right there.
At the,
Is that on, Michael?
Yep.
Franz Hudson. I live at 2060 Sutherland, and the spaces that you're designating, it's still quite a ways from my door. And that's a real problem because with my sciatic nerve disease, it comes up too often trying to walk from the car to the door. You have a few minutes, it's good. I pep in the step, and then all of a sudden, because of the way the disease is, it just slows you down, and the right side of your body it tries to go left instead of straight. So for those designated numbers that they pick, I don't think we should use those numbers because people that live down in that area, they do not have handicap problems to begin with. We know who the 3 and 4 people are that do have that problem.
But there's not too many other places we could even go. There's one that's
Why
pretty
not?
much the first spot outside of your home.
Yeah, but that's not outside. Well, that's across the street. That's not at my
No,
home.
there's 2 on the one side of the street and 1 on the other side.
Well, yeah, but it's quite a ways from my home. That's the whole point. And I think, and there's another handicapped person who has a terrible, what do you call it, heart disease, and it's hard for her to keep her breath just trying to get a little exercise or going back and forth to the doctor. So I think that should be considered more down toward the dead end of Sutherland instead of toward the middle where there aren't any handicapped people. That wouldn't be fair at all.
Are you sure you know where the spaces are?
Well, those numbers,
No, they're going to show you
Let's,
where they're,
show
where
you the
they've
map.
got them.
where's 2060?
So you're right here. And then once this would be here, this is the existing one. And then the other. So they're all down at the turn right here.
Well, 2060, why isn't it?
That should be real close.
One down in that area.
Well, this is not parking. This is just area for someone to turn around.
Right. So the 20, why can't 2060 be here and here since you already have one in the back? Why can't the two be here? Because that's where the people have to walk from. They have to come from that area.
Right, that corner space is the closest one to you that's being designated.
And how about the one right next to that? Can't there be 2 in a row?
Well, we have them on this side over here.
Yeah, but that's across the street
Yeah,
still.
I mean, they could be.
Yeah, why couldn't they be on the right side where the people
I think-
live?
So the question is, as
He wants the
shown,
very first 3, is that it?
well, I think the one on the north,
Yeah.
because you also have to balance to some degree the proximity of spaces, for everyone on the street. The request, I believe, is that the space next to 2065, that would be the 2 in the southeast corner be designated, and then the one on the north side be left
That's
where it
already there.
is.
You're right, it's already there.
Yeah. So where that other B is, just move that next to the first
Yeah,
B.
right,
Do the
Right across from
people making the motion accept that?
yeah.
the 2
I do.
is the one that's already
I do.
Second?
One here, that stays.
That's already there, right?
Yeah,
And so if you come right across the street here, then you could do the 2 there.
yeah, these two down.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hudson?
No, Karen, I think that'll be all, and thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor, and it's as it was amended with the spaces.
and staff will amend the ordinance as required.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Next, item number 4, update discussion of bicycle plan.
So moved.
Well, it's a
just
discussion.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Staff, you want to talk about that?
Yes, thank you. It's been a while since we've brought back activities from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. At the last meeting, there were a number of things discussed that dealt with where the group was going to focus their attention, since a lot of the physical facilities have been implemented. There's still some left to do, but a lot of them have been completed. The group was interested in getting direction from the committee on two primary items. One is the bike plan was adopted in 2010, and there was discussion about updating it to reflect the level of completion that's been accomplished to date, and also to reflect some of the newer ideas that are evolving in the biking world. Bike share is one example, that while it may not have immediate application here, that with the transit facilities there may be some future need. And also to focus more on the encouragement and educational aspects of the bike plan. As you may recall, the current plan was developed by village staff. It took a considerable amount of effort, and we're looking at options for how to proceed with this update should it be so directed. We have the ability to do it in-house, although it's going to take quite a while. It'll probably take till 2020 to get that in a draft form. We also have some options, again, that could be considered as a part of the budget request cycle for splitting off components of the bike plan development, such as perhaps the public outreach or some of the graphic capabilities that we have, but we really don't have the time to spend the amount of time that's required to make it look really nice. So we're looking for some direction. Is this something that the board would like to see us proceed with an update, and then we can take a look at how to incorporate this into budget requests? That's kind of a quick summary of the first item that came from BPAC.
Yeah, the only thing is I don't want us to commit to anything in the budget yet until we actually go into discussions, but Trustee
Understand.
Palafis?
I'd like to see us move forward, and I think if it's needed and it's a rational amount, staff augmentation to help you out to get there is something that I'm for. A couple of the things I'd like to see, because I'm on the Schaumburg Bikeways Advisory Commission over in Schaumburg. Actually, it's tomorrow night, Mike. So thanks for bringing this tonight. It's very timely. I don't know if you meant to do that. But one of the things that you and I had talked about, just kind of us, is doing maybe the extended map, because they have a map of all of their bike system, and I don't know if they're even open to it. Probably not. But maybe doing like a Schaumburg Hoffman type map.
Right.
Because the first day I got there, Al tapped the board when he goes, "See all of my yellow lines? They don't connect to the purple," and we were the purple. Back then, and when we got elected in 2007 and 8. So the second thing was the bike-friendly community. We talked about that, because when you have a ranking, from what I understand from them, is it puts you in line with the ability maybe to get some more grants and other things. And they've had the bike ranking, and again, it's a considerable amount of time. So if you brought in somebody to do a staff augmentation to help you with this plan, and that's a part of it, maybe that could help speed that process up as well. But I think, what you guys have been doing and what you've accomplished just since, we've been, together on this, all the connectivity, like even tonight with the forest reserves, getting over I-90, they went first with Meacham. We'll be second with Barrington Road possibly, and then they're going to do Roselle. That gives people a lot of options, especially the people that want to bike to Harper. That was like a big deal for a long time. So that's more in line now than it's been in past years. But anyway, those are my inputs that, I wanted to share.
Do we have any idea at all about how much money we're talking here?
It's largely dependent, of course, on the scope. Probably the low end when we developed it all in house the last time around, we spent about $3,000 just in advocacy peer group reviews by a couple of agencies. Some of the ones I've seen lately on the low end might be $10,000 to $15,000. You know, on the high end, my guess would probably be somewhere between 40 and 50. There's also the thought that some of the pieces of the plan could be left as is, and we could just focus on individual components to try to, although that would take a longer amount of time to complete the full update, it might help manage the cost.
That actually makes a lot of sense. What I was going to add is that the board, as part of your goals, endorsed updating the comprehensive plan as well as creating 2 area plans. I think we ought to talk as a staff about whether or not the bikeways help we need might be part of the comp plan update, or at least have the firms that would be bidding potentially to help on the comp plan bid on that as well, because there could be some overlap. So we might see some economies of scale
Good.
As we move forward with these other things. That's something we can talk about leading into the budget.
Okay. Any other questions? Do you need more direction at this point?
No, I think that helps for the first item. Trustee Palafis mentioned the second one, which is this community evaluation that is due in August. That's something that we can do on our own right now. But you're correct. It's really twofold benefit I see. One is that it gives you some additional weight or credibility when you're applying for grants. The other, I think, really honestly more importantly, is it tells us where we could be better. And that's the critical feedback that you get through this evaluation process.
Okay.
So that was the other thing, since it does involve some effort on our part and it's a relatively short time frame to submit it. We wanted to present it since it did come from the BPAC group.
Okay, great. Anything else?
I like the bike share. If they could look at that as a part of the master plan, Jim,
Yeah,
especially with what's going to happen with AT&T, that's where you'd have some continuity because you have, kind of the commercial mixed use.
Yeah, and we have been. I mean, we've actually had, who was it, do we have come in, Mike, and do a proposal?
That was Zagster did a feasibility study for us.
Yeah, we were on a
couple
call
years ago.
with them once, I remember.
And Mike's right, there will be some point in time in the future where we reach that threshold we need, and maybe that's the interchange and that gets us there, but when they did their review, it wasn't profitable for them. We were looking at the Prairie Stone, Sears, and some other areas, but it's on our radar. It's something that Mike and I are talking about on a regular basis, and should be part of the plan.
No. Okay. All right, you got some direction then from this evening?
Yes, thank you very
And
much.
you're welcome. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, next is reports for information only. We have the Transportation Division Monthly Report. Anything you wish to highlight?
No, thank you.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I would ask that this be received and filed as is. President's report?
I'll wait for the board meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and we still have one item in review, hopefully to come back in August, and that's the discussion of Steeple Hill fence and gate near Alcoa Lane and Washington Boulevard. Anything else to come before this committee this evening? Seeing none, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Does anybody want a quick 5-minute break, or we just want to go ahead?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the second meeting of the month of June to order. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present?
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
President, everybody please rise. Trustee Arnett, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
Thank you, Trustee Arnett. Would like to note for the record that this meeting is being broadcast live and will be shown rebroadcast on our cable channel throughout the week. Move on to item number 3, recognition of the audience. This is a time if someone has a question or concern they want to bring before the board and the village staff for an item that's not on the agenda. Now's the time to come forward. Going once, twice, 3 times, we'll move on. Item number 4, approval of the minutes of the June 4th, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Number 5, consent agenda. Chair would accept a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. The items on the consent agenda consist of A, approval of the agenda, and B, approval of the schedule of bills for June 18th, 2018, the amount of $6,394,110.91. There is a motion and a second. Any questions on these items? Seeing none, can you poll the board, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McCall.
Aye, motion carried. We have President's Report. We do have some presentations, proclamations.
Yes, I have the first.
No, we have a presentation first.
The presentate. Which
Okay,
one?
want to do the presentation first?
We can't, Alan's gonna do it. He has
Oh,
it.
okay. He's got it, okay.
Evening. I'd like to present where we got a plaque, say from FEMA, acknowledging the village's successful participation in the National Flood Insurance Community Rating System program. And I'll read what it says here briefly. It's
Yeah.
a good description of it is. The community has undertaken a series of meaningful activities to protect its citizens from losses caused by flooding and has significantly exceeded the requirements for National Flood Insurance Program participation and effective floodplain management. This system involves a lot of interdepartmental coordination amongst the village. Public Works Department's involved in the regular storm sewer maintenance program. Mapping, we have mapping that's completed by the IS department. We also have a significant amount of work on engineering side that Shelley Walenga handles most of this coordination, compiling and looking for the certification visits from the ISO representatives that work for FEMA. And we also had cooperation from the Hoffman Estates Park District for preserving open space, which is a significant portion of the project. So among those and the board's policy and procedures that have been set forth have that. Able to receive this acknowledgement. This current cycle, the village was awarded a Class 6. We were previously a Class 7 community, and that does provide a difference in the amount of discounts that flood insurance policies for the residents receive. So currently, as of May 1st, anyone in the special flood hazard zone within the village will receive a 20% discount from their flood insurance policy that previously was 15%, and anyone outside of the special flood hazard zone can now receive a 10% discount, and that was previously 5%.
Oh, very good, excellent. You want to make the rounds there? Bring your plaque with you.
Bring your plaque.
Well done. Should get a raise for that. Good job, Ben. That's what your bike plan there.
And some bike pads.
I get a picture up here, Al?
That's right.
Do people have to apply for this, or will it automatically?
It's automatic.
Okay.
It's automatic.
All right. Go. Where are you at? 1, 2, 3. One more, please. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that.
Mayor, if I could. So Alan answered that it's automatic, but You heard that FEMA sends in the ISO people to do the review and evaluation. So we have to have all the documentation. We have to provide the things that have changed since the previous rating period, what projects have been undertaken, those type of things. So it's not without effort, but it is their review of what we've done.
Very good. Okay, now we have some proclamations. Who's got the first one?
Yes, I have the first one. It says, Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas exemplary public service employment is of vital importance in assuring provision of services directed toward the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens of any community. Whereas the police department has upon its roster an individual who should be commended for assisting said department in faithfully serving the citizens of this community. And whereas length of service coupled with continued training and positive attitude toward assigned job tasks makes a profile of this dedicated employee. And whereas the Village of Hoffman Estates, on behalf of the citizens, desires to acknowledge its indebtedness and gratitude for 20 years of dedication and proficiency in the aforementioned department. Be it therefore resolved that William D. McLeod, acting under and by virtue of the authority vested in him by the Constitution of the State of Illinois and the laws of the Village of Hoffman Estates, hereby proclaim Friday, June 29th, 2018, as Karen Casada Day in the Village of Hoffman Estates, and urge all employees and citizens of the village to join us in expressing gratitude and appreciation to this employee who may have assisted them with outstanding service.
Chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We appreciate the great job that Karen has done running the police chiefs in this community for 20 years. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Chief?
Thank you. I've really tried my best to help them out.
Okay, who's next?
Okay, I am. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas National Children's Day was established in hopes that citizens of the United States would devote this day to love and commit to children while appreciating, supporting, loving, and committing to the future of children. And whereas annually at least 6.6 million children are referred through child protection services across the country, speaking to a potential lack of care and attention to children by caregivers. The United States has one of the highest rates amongst first world countries, and whereas children are our most precious resources and are invaluable to our society, they represent great potential achievement in the future. They deserve love, support, and commitment and validation to thrive in their lives. Children need to be celebrated, appreciated, and nurtured, and whereas the children bring a renewed life and energy when in the presence of older adults, thus providing spaces in which people from different generations can spend quality time, will foster new and meaningful relationships for both children and other aged individuals, bridging the gap intergenerationally. Be it therefore resolved that William D. McLeod, acting under and by virtue of the authority vested in him by the Constitution of the State of Illinois and laws of this Village of Hoffman Estates, hereby proclaim Tuesday, June 19, 2018, as National Children's Day in the Village of Hoffman Estates, and hereby encourage all citizens, government agencies, business leaders, hospitals, schools, and public and private institutions in the Village of Hoffman Estates to promote awareness of the benefits that can come from celebrating the joy and privilege of engaging with children to benefit the mental health of people of all ages.
Chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Dr. Savitra, will you accept this? We appreciate the great job that the folks who work with our young people do. Thank you. Okay, who's next? Who's next?
I am. I'm getting there. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Where starting in 2010, Congress named June 27th PTSD Awareness Day. In 2014, the Senate designated the full month of June for National PTSD Awareness. Efforts are underway to continue the designation for the 5th consecutive year in 2018. And whereas post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, can occur after someone goes through a traumatic event like combat, assault, or disaster, Most people have some stress reactions after a trauma. If the reactions don't go away over time or disrupt your life, you may have PTSD. And whereas going through trauma is not rare, about 6 of every 10 men and 5 of every 10 women experience at least one trauma in their lives. Women are more likely to experience sexual assault and child sexual abuse. Men are more likely to experience accidents, physical assault, combat, disaster, or to witness death or injury. And whereas PTSD can happen to anyone, it is not a sign of weakness. A number of factors can increase the chance that someone will develop PTSD, many of which are not under that person's control. For example, if you were directly exposed to the trauma or injured, you are more likely to develop PTSD. And whereas no one treatment is right for everyone, you can discuss treatment options with your health care provider and determine which ones are best for you based on the benefits, risks, and side effects of each treatment. Some people are uncomfortable with the idea of seeking treatment because of concerns with stigma or worries about having to talk about difficult life experiences. However, treatment provides the opportunity to improve symptoms, personal and professional relationships, and quality of life. Be it therefore resolved that William D. McLeod, acting under and by virtue of the authority vested in him by the Constitution of the State of Illinois and laws of this village of Hoffman Estates, hereby proclaim Wednesday, June 27, 2018 as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Day in the Village of Hoffman Estates, and hereby encourage all citizens, government agencies, business leaders, hospitals, schools, and public and private institutions in the Village of Hoffman Estates to take part in its observance.
Chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Certainly, I think people are much more aware of this PTSD than they were in the past. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Motion carried. Dr. Savidra, one more time. You're getting your steps in. Who's got the next one?
Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas Honor Guards of America consists of former and retired members of the ceremonial units of the United States military, military veterans, Homeland Security, first responder agencies such as law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical service, and civilians wanting to render respect and honor. And whereas on July 1st, 2018, Honor Guards of America is recognizing all Honor Guards nationwide. And whereas the mission of Honor Guards of America is to educate the general public about Honor Guards, preserve the history and traditions relating to Honor Guards, recognizing all Honor Guards nationwide each year during Honor Guards Day, and provide assistance to Honor Guards nationwide with or without Honor Guard units. And whereas the Honor Guard serves each community through participation in services for the fallen, presenting the colors with honor and involvement with community memorials. And whereas the Honor Guard acts as the face of the organization they represent during solemn times of mourning and remembrance, and provides solace to families and communities during times of grief. And whereas Honor Guards of America, along with Honor Guards across the United States, serve with honor, dignity, and loyalty. And they demonstrate high regard for the traditions of the United States military, public safety organizations, other agencies, and honor the veterans who serve our country. Be it therefore resolved that William D. McLeod, acting under and by virtue of the authority vested in him by the Constitution of the State of Illinois and laws of this Village of Hoffman Estates, hereby proclaims Sunday, July 1st, 2018, as National Honor Guards Day in the Village of Hoffman Estates, and urges all Hoffman Estates residents and businesses to join in its observance by showing appreciation to our Honor Guards for their support of our community.
Chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. The Honor Guards bring such dignity and comfort to all the solemn occasions that occur in our community. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it, mention carried. I do see an Honor Guard. Come on up. Sergeant. Thank you, sir.
Whoops.
You get a picture? Thanks for your patience, sitting through all these meetings.
Gotta sit through all the meetings.
Long night. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you. Good job.
Okay, we have the third Summer Sounds on the Green concert at the Village Green this Thursday at June 21st. The Flat Cats will take the stage with vintage and modern tunes rooted in swinging jazz and blues. Don't mean to think it ain't got that swing. Concerts being at 7 p.m. Event and rainout information hotline can be reached at 847-252-5448. We once again congratulate the Hoffman Estates Athletic Association Hoffman Estates Red Hawks team for their continual championships year after year. The junior varsity football team, the Pee Wee football team, the junior varsity cheer, and the junior Pee Wee cheer. I want to thank the trustees for going to the block party on Sunday when I was not available. I was out of town, so thank you very much for. I know the people on Silver Pine always appreciate the presence of the elected folks at their block party. Tuesday the 5th, we had our Celtic Fest Commission meeting, and that's rapidly approaching, though the 4th of July is imminent. On Wednesday the 6th, I participated in the Northwest Municipal Conference Executive Committee meeting. And on Thursday the 7th, I was able to stop by Tom Hawkinson's retirement luncheon after, 38 and a half years with the Public Works Department, a long time. And some of us were able to go to the Bright Horizons ribbon cutting, their expansion out on Sears Parkway on the west side of Hoffman Estates. And on that evening, on the 7th, I attended the Prep Sports Award, the Daily Herald Prep Sports Award, and presented an award to a couple of folks at that event. And on Thursday, the 14th, we had a Father's Day event at Alden Poplar Creek. We've always done Mother's Day, so we did Father's Day today, this year too, and that was very well received. On Thursday, June 14th, Bruce Anderson and I did a Heart of Hoffman Estates filming at the Schaumburg Township District Library building. And the 14th, that evening, we had a 4th of July committee meeting, which Mr. O'Malley was not able to be at because he was on vacation. He never misses these. He's amazing. Roger was there in your stead there, so don't worry. And on Friday the 15th, we had our Flag Day picnic that a few of us were able to attend at the St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Schaumburg. And this evening, again, we had the receptions for the Red Hawk teams that win every year. So we'll see them again next year, I'm sure. We'll move on now to 6B, trustee comments. Trustee Arnett, what do you got?
Thank you. On June 7th, I also attended the Daily Herald Prep Sports Awards at the Sears Center. Congratulations to all the young students. I think it was 600 students at 28 different schools that attended. Very well put on by the Daily Herald. On June 10th, I did attend the torch run for the Special Olympics. Pretty good turnout from Streamwood and Hanover Park, and Hoffman had a few. My compliments to Officer John Bending for such a great job that he does with the Special Olympics coordination for everything. And later that afternoon, I did attend the Amy Berry Block Party at 1217 Silver Pine. I believe we're either a little bit early or a little bit late due to the weather. And then tonight attended the Red Hawk HEAA award ceremony tonight. Congratulations to all of them. And that's all I have.
Okay, Trustee Stanton.
Thank you. On June 7th, I was able to attend the Bright Horizon ribbon cutting. That night, I celebrated with my wife our 43rd anniversary. The following night, I was downtown, and we celebrated my sister and brother-in-law's 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
We made that a whole weekend kind of thing, and so I wasn't involved with much of that weekend, anything of that weekend, actually. On the 15th of June, I did attend the Flag Day picnic at St. Peter's Church, which is sponsored by the Village of Schaumburg Senior Program at the Barn. And during the week, again, I couldn't get to some of the functions because I was helping out my daughter and my grandkids with different things that they had going on. So that's it for me.
Okay, trustee Mills.
Well, I also had several family things over the last 2 weeks, so I wasn't able to participate in many of these, but I want to send congratulations to the Red Hawks football and cheer squad and wish them well as they go forward next year, bringing honor to our town. That's it.
Okay, trustee Palafis.
About 7 years ago, I was in a musical with my son AJ with a theater group named Hot Productions. Hot stands for Helping Others Through Theater. And they're currently in production with the musical West Side Story, where I am helping them as Officer Krupke. There's really only 4 adults in the show, which somehow I qualify for. But nevertheless,
By age only.
by age only, that's totally right.
Proud.
But the group's predominantly comprised of Hoffman Estates High School kids, and then another group from Lincoln Prairie, and it's just a really fun group of kids. And but what I like about Hot Productions is the H, helping others. Really, it's a non-for-profit, and a couple of years ago they gave a bunch of money to a veterans organization. So a lot of what they make over their costs they give away, which I like. Plus, a big part of that group of kids is in the category of the kind of financially, challenged group of kids. So they do a lot to help that community of those junior high and high school kids. So many thanks to Chief Boss, who I called and had the most bizarre favor to ask him for some of his police attire, which went over really big. It really looks good out there, despite the fact that I'm in it. And it adds credibility to the part. So I was talking to Representative Crespo, who, as you know, is from Puerto Rico, and he said that hits him pretty hard, and he might try to come this weekend. So if anybody wants to come, let me know. I'll get you some tickets, and it's a great cause. Also, tonight we had our Plots concert meeting. We had a meeting about, just adding some things to the event. Coincidentally, the Hot Dance Troupe actually does our German dance, and they actually created a whole genre and dances for the Plots concert a number of years ago when the Plots concert still fell under the Arts Commission. So in having a lot of transactions with Donica Seminaro, we were talking about them possibly representing the Plots concert in the 4th of July parade, which we're going to do. And they're going to hand stuff out for the event, and that's all going to be really cool. So I have to run home and fill out the application, which I still have to do apparently. So we're going to actually be right next to your commission.
Well, you can go ahead and pass out or collect canned goods too.
There you go. Maybe we'll do that for sure. And then congrats to the Red Hawks for all of their achievements, of excellence for both football and cheerleading. You see it in the as the feeder of Hoffman Estates High School, predominantly in both of the disciplines. The football team did pretty good last year, and the cheerleading team went pretty far as well. So they're definitely, the fruits of their labors transfer on as the kids grow up and get out of their program and go into others. It's quite a legacy. That's all for me.
Okay, trustee Newell.
Okay, not too many events. I did miss a few, but we did have some family events going on. So I only had a couple, like on the 6th, attended the PB&Z training, which I thought was actually excellent. It really was a good eye-opener on some things, good presentation. On the 7th and on the 14th, did both of the Village Green concerts, which the first one was, I think, the largest for the first concert for the year, as far as count and stuff. So, and a lot of people had a lot of good fun, and Ben had said we have the new little cantina or something up there, which was like really cool. It's up on the hill, and you can see it. And then, of course, congrats to all the Hoffman Estates Red Hawks, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Gata.
Sure, we only have a couple of things on that. Sunday, the 10th, we attended the block party on 12/17, and yes, Mother Nature did not go along with them, right, because of the weather, but at least we showed up. And then on Friday, the 15th, the Flag Day picnic at St. Peter's Lutheran Church. Congratulations to the Red Hawks and the cheer team, and happy anniversary to Trustee Stanton. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll move on to 6C, Village Manager's Report.
I have nothing to add tonight, sir. Thank you.
D, Village Clerk's Report. Has that been received and filed?
Yes, received and filed. Nothing further to add. I've got nothing to say.
That's unusual. Move on to Treasurer's Report. Everybody's received a copy of the Treasurer's Report. Are there any questions on the Treasurer's Report? Trustee Palafis.
2 months in a row where money coming in has exceeded money going out.
Correct. Things are doing pretty well right now.
Yeah. Be good to get a third or fourth month of that.
Gives you something to shoot for. You have anything you want to add?
Nothing to add. Nothing
Okay,
unusual.
this report has been received and will be filed. Move on to committee reports. No. No, we don't need a motion on the treasurer's report. Specifically, we don't. No. It's new policy. For those of you listening at home, the audit report has to be voted on, but not the treasurer's report. Okay, 6F committee reports, Public Works and Utilities, Trustee Newell.
Okay, the Public Work and Utility Committee will meet on June 25th, 2018.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. It says following finance, but finance is last? What am I doing?
That might just be wrong.
Okay,
So as long as you got the right date.
okay, I'll just,
go.
Just go with it.
sure, okay. So we're meeting on the 25th anyway. Okay. We're going to have a roll call. We're going to have approval of minutes from June 4th, and then under new business, we got 3 items. One is request approval of a resolution setting forth prevailing hourly wage rate paid to employees engaged in work awarded under public contract. Item number 2 is request authorization to extend the 2017-2018 contract for the 2018-2019 janitorial maintenance services for Village Hall, Police Department, Susan Kenley Ruppnow Public Works Center, and Fleet Services Facility to EcoClean Maintenance Incorporated out of Elmhurst, Illinois, for a total contract monthly fee of $4,941. The total contract amount not to exceed $70,000. Item number 3, request authorization to waive the RFP process and award contract to Baxter and Woodman Consulting Engineers out of Crystal Lake, Illinois, for engineering services required for compliance to MWRDGC's Infiltration Inflow Control Program, which is the IICP, in an amount not to exceed $273,000 AI. Then we will have the reports, which are for information only. One would be the Department of Public Works monthly report. 2 would be the Department of Development Services monthly engineering report of the Transportation and Engineering Division. Then if there's anything under President's report, nothing shown under other items in review, and we will adjourn.
Thank you. Move on to Public Health and Safety, Trustee Gata.
Yes, Public Health and Safety will have their meeting on June 25th, 2018. We will have a roll call to establish a quorum, and then approval of the minutes of June 4th, 2018. Under new business, there will only be reports of the information only, and 1 is the Police Department monthly report. Number 2, the Health and Human Services monthly report. 3, Emergency Management Quarterly Monthly Report. Number 4, the Fire Department Monthly Report. We will have a President's Report if there's anything in other items in review, and we'll be looking for an adjournment.
Thank you. Move on to Finance, Trustee Palafis.
I will be out on business and dialing into this, so Anna will call to order the roll call. Yeah, I always strategically plan it that way for you to help me. We'll ask for an approval of the minutes of June 4th, 2018. And then there's 5 items under new business. The first is request acceptance of the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended December 31, 2017. Item number 2 is request acceptance of the Economic Development Area Special Tax Allocation Fund Annual Financial Report for the year ended December 31st, 2017. Item number 3, request approval of an ordinance amending Article 5, Real Estate Transfer Tax of the Hoffman Estates Municipal Code. Item number 4 is a request authorization to declare $204,886 as surplus funds in the Barrington-Higgins TIF Tax Allocation Fund and direct the treasurer to remit said funds to the Cook County Treasurer for distribution. Item number 5 is going to be a request authorization for purchase and installation of 3 15-ton new POE oil compressors to replace existing equipment at the Sears Center Arena to Advantage Mechanical of McHenry, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $25,723. The reports for information only will be Finance Department Monthly Report, Information Systems Department Monthly Report, and Sears Center Monthly Report. If needed, a President's Report, anything in other, no items in review, and then an adjournment.
Thank you, Trustee Palafis. Move on to additional business. We have 7A, request board approval of an ordinance granting a variation to premises at 1580 Edgefield Lane. Chair to accept. Yes. Why don't you second it first, then next question?
I'll second.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused on that one. On here, it says that we're granting the variation, and then on this Planning and Zoning Commission, under Chairman's report, it said that the setback variation was denied by the village board?
One was approved, one was denied.
Okay, so which one is,
The height was approved, this is for the height.
oh, this one's for the height?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no,
Just
that's
was
very.
confused
I
when
was
I
looking
kept
at it,
reading
too.
all
It
of
was
this.
Very confusing.
They can figure out a way to
Stan.
drag it over.
My question, yeah.
My question is this. We did not allow for this building to be where it was, even though we did allow the height to be there. If the building comes down, the height comes down, why are we approving an ordinance allowing for the height variance?
Counselor?
I don't know right now.
Pete?
I'm not familiar with the,
Yeah, technically, the shed structure is built on a concrete slab, and it is really not that difficult, maybe not alone, but it's not that difficult to move a structure. So the resident can actually pour an extension to his concrete pad further into his yard and actually have the shed. You can cut the bolts from the anchors, and you can actually slide the shed to meet the setback.
Do we know that they're going to do that?
That's what he's been investigating, is what it would, exactly how he could accomplish that. So that is certainly an achievable outcome of this, because the structure itself is actually very attractive and well-built. So I think he still wants to take advantage of the height variation.
I kind of would ask that we hold off on approval of this until such time as we know is exactly what he's going to do.
Manager Norris.
For him to investigate the time and money, excuse me, heads off, the time and money and potentially get a contractor lined up, he would have to, in my opinion, he'd have to know he was going to get the variance. Otherwise, why do it? Why look at framing it? Why look at doing any of that unless he knows he's going to get the height variance? Because if he doesn't get it there, the whole thing comes down, right? So if the board grants a height variance, staff follows up on these type of things all the time to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do to come in compliance. If they don't, we start issuing citations. We have the legislative history. Council will use it in the court to deal with it.
Now, what happens if we do approve this, then they tear the shed down? Does
It
that
goes
live
away.
in perpetuity, or the whole thing
No,
go away?
It goes away.
Okay.
Because they need a brand-new permit to erect a new shed. It's for the existing shed.
Okay, did you have something, Trustee Plavis?
Well, they didn't have a permit for the original shed.
I know.
Yes, so I need,
Oh, I don't know if that matters, but anyway, I was
That
gonna.
happens?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. If they move it, they're in compliance with the setback.
Right.
okay, Trustee Newell.
Okay, and then on the ordinance, it is saying that we give him time up until July 27th. So that gives him more than enough time to get
Correct.
everything rolling and
Correct.
setbacks and
Yes.
Exactly.
architects and whatever.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he has that window of time, month and a half roughly, to meet the setback requirement.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, well, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Nay.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye. Motion passes. Move on to 7B. This is a request board approval of an ordinance as amended, amending section 6-2-1-HE-11-1302-A of Hoffman Estates Municipal Code, handicap parking on Sutherland Place.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion aside. Is everybody clear what was decided upon? Okay, and this ordinance will be amended.
Right.
And we'll sign it tomorrow then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is a motion, a second. Let's see, no further discussion. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. Move on to 7C. Request board approval of a resolution approving a recreational lease between Commonwealth Edison and the Village of Hoffman Estates, path connection to Pembroke Avenue as part of the Barrington Road Interchange Project.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. 7D, request board approval of a resolution to include certain taxable payments as Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, IMFR earnings.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, can you pull the board, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
No. 7E, request board approval to submit an application for the RTA Access to Transit Grant Program for the Central Road Path.
So moved.
Second.
It's motion, a second. Any questions on this one? Yes, Trustee Palafis.
I have one favor to ask Mr. Hankey. Could you do a quick write-up on these two for me tomorrow for the Bikeways Advisory Committee, whatever they call it? That'd be great. I'd love to give a report on those.
Sounds good.
That's
You
all.
have nothing else
Do we
to do.
really want to tell Schaumburg what we're doing?
Well, yeah, sure.
Try to swoop in and steal our grant money.
Especially if we get a higher rating. That'd kill them.
Good thought. Okay, there's a motion, a second, and Mr. Hankey has another burden for tomorrow. There's
Thank
no
you.
further discussion on 7E. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Palafis.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. Number 8, Chair to accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on this? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. We are adjourned.
Second.